What's up guys, Coach Nate here from the Run Experience, here at Perform for Life Run Lab with Trevor. He's got me on the treadmill. That means we are doing a run gait analysis. He's gonna put a bunch of green dots on me, break it all down.
Break it all down, get into it, yeah, deep and dirty with the science.
Deep and dirty with the science, so stick around guys. See ya. Sound is still good. The little talkie thing is moving.
Yes, the little talkie thing is moving.
The little talkie thing is moving up
It's
and down.
moving.
Okay, good. That's a good sign. If it's like flatlining, it's not a good sign. So we are now on the treadmill. I got all these green dots on me. 2019 fashion. I don't know what the kids are doing these days, but maybe this is something. And you are going to have me running at a speed that you said is like not like too hard where I'm falling apart, but like not too easy, so we can start to see a little stress and we can start to see my stuff come out.
Right. Essentially like your marathon race pace.
Right.
Somewhere around there. I don't want you sprinting, but don't want you walking either.
Very, very cool. Cool. So that's going to be, so you said like a 7-minute pace for me, something like that would be a good place to start. Okay.
Yeah. And I'll cover this and just let you naturally kind of feel, like, if you're going to start running, where would you go? Yeah.
Cool.
So go ahead and straddle both for me.
Here we go. I have to legally straddle the treadmill to start.
Good, cool. And then go ahead and just step on it. It'll be super slow.
Here we go. Oh. Easy day.
Easy day. Woo. So a warm-up speed, maybe 6 to about 6.5 to 7.
Yeah.
This would be a good 5K, 10K, half. Alright, let's go give it a shot.
Very cool.
How you doing?
Good.
Good.
Just shake out those legs a little bit.
Perfect. All right, we'll just pull this back up.
So I'm off the treadmill. We're checking out some of the slow-mo videos of yours truly, and you're gonna explain stuff.
Everything, yeah.
That's to do with my running. So you guys get this like over the shoulder picture, but don't worry, we'll take this and we'll bring this right up to you.
Perfect. All right, so the first thing we're gonna look at is kyphosis and lordosis of the lower, basically the lower spine and the upper spine as well.
Okay.
As we zoom in here to your lower spine, lordosis is basically if the hip pops.
Right. If I kind of overextend or that anterior tilt happens.
Anterior tilt. You're right on. Yeah. What we can see here is that there's not much anterior tilt going on. You're actually running pretty neutrally. I can say that because mostly this dot and this dot in the back, as you see this one coming to the screen, are relatively flat.
Right.
That is your ASIS and your PSIS.
Okay.
Hip relatively level, right?
Good. So if I saw the dot drop, that would be something like this.
Or if you see this dot consistently lower than that dot,
right,
anterior tilt as well. But we also screened for that before, and you don't have lordosis as well, right? Next thing we look at is kyphosis. So kyphosis is the curve in the upper back. Work on a desk a lot.
I know.
This vibe right
a lot
here.
of computer. I know.
A lot of computer. No kyphosis here during your running. Very good. Nice and smooth. Awesome. Iliac crest height or suspected leg length discrepancy. A lot of athletes that run with one leg that's longer than the other. What we hear on the treadmill is when we see that or hear that, or if we suspect that there's a big hip hike, we'll actually measure the distance from your belly button to your middle ankle or medial ankle, medial malleolus. One leg might be longer than the other.
I see.
If we see that, then we try a trial insert, which basically raises up that shorter leg, helps you run with a symmetrical gait.
Right, see if that corrects out a little bit.
Exactly. Okay. Next one we're going to look at is varus valgus of the knee. Talked about that earlier.
So this is what we were talking about earlier, and this potentially ties into my glute medius I was inferring. And we'll see what happens with the knee. Here we go.
So as we zoom in here, we can see.
It looks good when it's fast.
Yeah. As this knee strikes, we're looking at the knee window. So there's a window here. You can see through, right? As the knee hits, you can see that this right knee slightly comes in. Left knee also slightly comes in towards the window as well. Now they're pretty
So I'm just seeing just a teeny bit.
A teeny bit of that movement, yes, exactly. But what we see is as you fatigue,
it
that
starts to
becomes
get
exacerbated and it gets worse and worse and worse. So we can see it very minimally here, but I can also see that the internal rotation of, let's get into this one. Here, if we look at the whole knee itself, you can see when it strikes, there's a slight inward movement of the knee
so that knee shifts a little.
A little bit, exactly. And that kind of confirms a weakness in the glute med that we found earlier.
Right.
Now, yes, this is slight, but over the course of a marathon or a half,
it can start to exaggerate.
even a 5 or 10K, it can start to exaggerate. And then that could possibly cause pain in the knee. And then we know as the foot goes valgus, the medial arch collapses as well. So we'll see if we see that in a second.
Okay, very cool.
Talking about that, everything's connected, right?
Right.
The hip to the knee to the foot. As your foot strikes, you see
How's
these
my
two
foot
dots?
bone doing?
Your foot bone's doing okay. It's doing okay. You see these two dots here?
Yeah.
We want them perfectly stacked, one on top of the other. As your foot strikes, do you see how both dots shift inward?
Yeah, both of my ankles and feet are rolling in a little bit.
As your knee comes in, we talked about this earlier, podiatrist versus a hip doctor. Knee goes in, foot collapses. Knee goes in, foot collapses. Is that an issue of the glute med? Possibly. Or is it an issue of your foot being
We talked about the eversion and inversion of my ankle.
One or the other, not sure. I'd rather just give you exercises for both.
Yeah, and then this is also a shoe that's not giving me any of that like torsional support, so it's really gonna show.
Yeah, no, it's really showing up here, especially with the glute med, allowing the knee to crash in and the ankle to roll as well.
Like, how much is this, just for everyone to know, like on a scale of things, like how bad is this versus not bad?
One of the most correlated factors to runner's knee is the valgus of the knee, specifically because it crashes in.
If people are like seeing this degree, they're like, oh, like that needs to get fixed ASAP, or is that like...
This degree is more so, let's strengthen, it's not too, this isn't a red flag.
It's not a red flag, but it's just like, we need to pay attention to it.
We need to pay attention to that because at the end of the race, it might be a red flag. Whereas if this is a little more exaggerated, then we know this is pretty intense.
Which for me is something, because when I do ramp up my training, there are things that I have to all of a sudden pay attention to, my lower legs. Right now, when I kind of stay at 30 miles a week or below, my body feels pretty good. I still have to do my mobility things, but like I'm pretty good. But when I'm like 40 or even higher, that's where I'm like playing whack-a-mole.
Of course, and that makes sense because as you increase the mileage, it's likely to be more pronounced and so on. So because it's so weak, it's allowing that extra movement to happen. Yeah, so it's definitely something we want to look at moving forward as well. Next thing we're going to look at is your rear foot motion.
Rear foot motion.
Yeah, so as your foot, the rear foot is cruising and stepping on stance phase, the foot touches the ground.
Right.
How many toes can I see on the outside? So we can see maybe a pinky toe and a ring toe, maybe just a pinky toe. Does that make sense? So we're looking at external rotation of the foot. So we can see maybe a pinky toe, and here, let's go slower.
Like on this end?
Yeah, that's a pinky toe as well. So that, okay.
Oh, but here, if my foot's turned in, I can't really see.
You can't really see it. So see how that's straight and you can see the big toe?
Yeah.
But on the other side, you can see the big toe as well, but it's a little more out.
Yeah.
See the difference?
Yeah.
Basically what we're looking at is rotation.
How straight are my feet?
How straight are your feet? External rotation, internal rotation.
Yep.
And what I can see here is that you're a little bit externally rotated, pop out just a hair, but that also comes with the weak glute med as well.
Right.
Remember earlier we squeezed the glutes and those didn't.
Yeah.
So.
Very cool.
Yeah, foot progression angle.
Isn't this fun, guys?
Relatively the next step of this, we're looking at the foot specific to how it's progressing through the movement pattern.
I see.
And we can see it's relatively the same there as well, so increased internal rotation. Now the next one is really important. It's the base of stance. So as your feet are landing right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot, are you crossing a tightrope or running on a road?
Right. Do I have...
Or, are you weaving? Are you a weaver? Or you're weaving one foot in front of the other?
Right.
And so on. So I'm actually going to pop out and show you this one from yesterday. You can see her feet stack one foot on top of another. You see that? She's very like that. Number one issue here, IT band syndrome, IT band tightness. Because these are so tight from resisting that collapse. Motion. Yeah, exactly. So every time we see this, if we have her roll out, her IT band just lights up. Like, I don't want to do this. This is terrible. This hurts, man. So we're going to look at the base of stance for you. We can see that you're pretty straight. If we draw a line right down the center of this treadmill right here, your big toe is touching, and your big toe is probably touching in about the same spot.
Interesting.
Not too wide.
So I'm seeing a little collapse here, and there's a little knee collapse, but you're basically saying kind of from the hip, not too bad?
No, from the hip, what do you mean? Not too bad?
You mean like there's a little collapse here at the ankle, but I'm not seeing, like that tightrope means my IT bands aren't pulling me in.
So the IT band would be overactive because you're in
right.
Yeah, so if your IT band is on the line, the IT band is pulling out.
Right.
An abductor is pulling out. So
I see.
It's really tight. For here, with that slight internal valgus there, that's most likely this group here underactive, not overactive.
Right.
In her case, because she's weaving, the IT band is overactive, which causes it to be super sensitive as well. So with your base of stance, it's normal. Yeah. Awesome. If, in her case, we want her to run on a line down the middle of the road, so that way it stays linear, so we can help her stay directly in line. Next one is heavy running. You're a very, very heavy runner. Oh. We can hear you.
Is heavy like cool these days?
Super cool. Basically like a herd of rhinos running through, right? Beating up the treadmill. Yeah. What that tells me is that muscular strength throughout squatting in the single leg squat could be possibly limited because you're kind of beating up stomach. Or you're having a bit of dorsiflexion. Your foot is pointed up before you hit, and you're slapping.
And there's a little slap on the ground.
So it's one or the other. It's one or the other. Strength, can you withstand your force? Remember, 8 times your body weight. That's a lot. Or is the foot up? Just a little bit and slapping. Cool. Did you say that? Perfect. Yes, increase internal rotation of the knee. Valgus. So the next one is varus thrust. Varus thrust. Have you ever seen anybody racing and they're running side to side to side? That is a varus thruster. That looks like they're ice skating. Yeah. You are not a varus thruster, but that is our test to see if someone is a varus thruster, then we know that they have really strong adductors, the inner muscles, but we need to work on here, and we need to get them in a straight line. They probably did some type of inline skating or something. Right. As well. Next one is the heel whip. For this, I'm going to stand up to show you what that is. Okay. A normal heel whip is when the foot and the heel is coming straight up off of the ground. Here. Sure. See that? Yep. A medial heel whip is going to the midline.
I see. Yeah, that foot kicks out that way.
Lateral heel whip, out that way. Yep. Normal, medial, lateral. Let's see what we have.
I think I have a little medial on my right side.
Okay.
I'm learning all these things, guys. I'm learning all these things.
So we have pretty good on the left. Right is definitely medial. You see that little flare
that little
inside?
flare.
Good. Know what that's related to? Glute med.
Glute med.
Glute med.
Oh
Check
man.
the glute med.
It all comes back.
Out. Yeah. So as you can see on basically our platform here, as we select medial heel width, it automatically selects clamshells and hip abduction. The hip abductor group is relatively weak, as well as the glute med is part of the hip abductor group as well. Next thing we're going to look at is pelvic drop. So pelvic drop, we're looking at these two dots here.
Right, seeing how much one shifts from the other.
Your shirt kind of came up a little bit, so it's a bit hard to see here, but you can see it in your waistband as well. See that drop on the right?
Yeah.
Drop on the left.
Yeah.
Good. So both of those are excessive. We want a lot
less
so
I'm seeing
pelvic drop.
this little hip
Boom,
drop.
boom, boom. Exactly. We want those
which is tied into the glute med thing as well.
Relatively hip stability, but also above the glute med is the obliques or the lateral stabilizer.
Okay.
So if you want to add in the notes, lots of side planks would be really good for you to increase the hip stability. So yeah, glute med, but this becomes a bit of a complex because it's including the upper body and the tissues in the torso that attach to the hips. So it's a little more than just glute med, but we also want to do a lot of side planks as well. Next thing is transverse pelvic rotation. Are the hips rotating right and left? Not only are we looking at up like here, but
this way, but side to side.
Side to side. No, they're not. That's not excessive. That's very good.
Why would that rotate if like a hip was tight? Like they're lacking hip flexion? Would that like pull the hip back or something?
Yeah, or it's just a bit of weak torsion. So weak, basically rotational muscles in the core. So as you run, you're coming this way.
Right.
And if these are weak, it's going to allow you to come here. So it could be a product of weak anti-rotators. It could actually not be in the hip, or it could be the opposite. It could be weak hip stability, and then there's so much force going on up here.
Yeah.
It's kind of chicken or the egg again, but essentially, yeah. Okay. So next one is hip circumduction and abduction.
Okay.
This is not going on with you, but we see this in our elderly population. For an example of this, it's like the leg swinging out to the side. Does that make sense? It's circumduction. They're going in a circle.
Right.
Elderly people walk with circumduction. Usually they walk with their foot swinging out to the side. Also a weaver, if you're stepping one foot in front of the other, in order to get there, you have to do circumduction, right? You're not doing circumduction here. Next one is torso rotation. The best way that we have found to screen for this without actually calculating in Dartfish is the degree of the shirt and where it's going.
You can kind of look at the wrinkles
You can watch
of
the
the shirt.
wrinkles. You can see they're going left and they're going slightly right as well, left and right. Ideally, really, really strong lateral core muscles here. That shirt's gonna go up and down, up and down. With oscillation, that's typical. This shows us that there's a little extra torsion.
So there's a little bit more torsion.
A little more. Basically, a little bit of your force, about 20% of your linear sprinting speed is from your arms. So some of that 20% could be going that way and that way. Might not all be going that way. Big issue? No. Performance variable? Yes. Little thing, but we definitely want to talk about it and improve it. Lateral lean, you're very vertical, so you're not leaning one side to the right.
That's good.
Yeah, super good there. Arm motions.
We're checking through these things. Here we go. Now we're on the arms.
Yeah, so checking into the arms, we're basically looking at, is this increase excessive? Are you like really ripping with one arm or the other, anything like that? You're totally normal on both. What we usually see is with our athletes, if the left is extremely injured, the right arm will swing and compensate.
Yeah, interesting. So if you have like a left lower leg injury, you'll see funky stuff with the right arm.
Exactly, and the opposite is true as well. Yeah, exactly. Next thing we're going to get onto is the classic foot strike type.
Okay.
Heel strike, forefoot, midfoot. Where are we at? We'll zoom into the foot, and we can see these dots here. As you're landing, your foot's relatively flat. You can see why you're loud, but right here, I would say is a heel strike.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Now, what have you heard about like relation to like shin angle where the foot hits the ground?
What I've heard and studied is that shin angle should be basically perpendicular with the ground, neutral. Your
shin angle might be slightly back a little bit.
Slightly back a little bit, but we want it to be there with the foot strike, right there, perpendicular with the ground.
Yep.
So that way, you're most likely forefoot striking, not heel striking, because heel striking is a braking impulse. Another thing that's not talked about in heel striking is that you can actually increase your performance, because when you strike on your heel, most of your calf does not contract immediately. Your
Right.
quad contracts. When your muscles contract, they push blood back towards the heart. When you land on your forefoot, the calf contracts, then the quad contracts, and it shoots the venous blood back up to the heart.
That's cool.
And then you get more blood flowing through the system.
That's really, really cool.
VO2 is cardiac output. So
Right.
if you are heel striking, your quad is...
All that blood's going to get stuck down there.
It's going to get stuck down there. But then it'll shoot up afterwards when you press off. But it's not an efficient machine.
Right.
So you can increase your venous blood return to your heart by forefoot striking.
Oh, that's cool.
But we can basically, in a nutshell, heel striking is a braking impulse.
Yep.
If you ran as fast as you could, but stepped out in front of you every time, it's going to
Yep.
slow you down each step. Now this might be on the micro level,
Sure.
but we still want to decrease your stride length just a little bit or increase your cadence. So that way your foot is landing here.
Right.
Rather
As
than
opposed to just a little
here.
bit in
It's
front.
very slight, but that might be why you have that wear pattern on the bottom of your shoe that we
Right.
saw earlier, right? A little bit of heel striking. So he's a heel striker. Along with being a heel striker, usually we find that people run very loudly.
Yeah.
Specifically because if the heel hits the ground, the toes are still up.
Yeah, and then there's a little...
And then there's a little slap, right? So increase your cadence, shorten your stride just a little bit.
Yeah.
We should have that slight change, and the foot should be the first thing to hit.
Yeah.
Not the heel, then the foot. And we won't get a slap. It'll be more consistent
Cool.
and fluid.
Okay.
Yeah, what's the next one? Excessive force of forefoot contact. Basically, because this foot slap is
The
happening.
herd of elephants situation.
Yeah, exactly. Because that is happening, your forefoot is taking a little bit of excessive force because you're doing that extra foot slap
Yeah.
as well, right? And that's essentially something, of course, we want to
Yeah.
avoid as well.
That actually used to be worse.
Really?
Yeah, I used to be louder.
Nice.
I know. You start from somewhere.
Yeah.
You know?
Next one is adequate toe off. During, no, it's normal. Adequate toe off to ankle plantar flexion. Basically, are you using your calves as you press off at the end of the stance phase or when your foot is in contact with the ground. We can see here. If we had a pile of rocks at the end of the treadmill,
Right.
are you kicking them behind you? And you can see as you come off, see that little spring, how the toe comes off? As some athletes don't really use their calves, you can see that there's not that extra kick in the bottom.
Right.
They just press off and the foot comes straight up.
Sure.
You can see that you're actually winding through. And I can also see on the front of your shoe, there's a little bit, you see,
Yeah.
a little bit of wear. It tells me
Yeah.
you're really using your calves. Awesome. Had a client come in a couple days ago, hurt soleus, not using her calf at all. She's relying on her soleus to get her triple
Right,
extension.
right,
Muscle's
right.
not built for that. Now she has a strain in that. Next one is knee flexion during the swing phase. Basically, we're looking at, is this back leg...
How bent is the knee?
How bent is the knee? Is this back leg parallel to the ground? If this back leg is parallel to the ground, we know that you're using your hamstring. Makes sense? So if they're...
How high this kind of heel's kicking up and pulling through.
Exactly, yeah. If it's not reaching this as a standard, we know you're not activating your hamstring enough. You probably need to run faster, or you're just not, maybe possible
Right.
you can't, like neurokinetic therapy, the testing we did earlier.
Right.
Maybe you can't activate your hamstring.
Right.
And we found in the left one it's a little weak, but we can see here you are activating both hamstrings, which is super awesome. All good there. So then we're gonna get into knee flexion during the stance phase. So as you strike the ground, how bent is your knee? And we can see here that because you're a heel striker, there's not a lot of flexion in the knee, which means there's a lot of force going into the knee.
I see.
Could lead to knee injuries as well. Ideally, we'd like you to land about here. See the
So I take a
degree-
moment to get there.
Yeah, take a moment to get there as you go through the stance phase. As you're doing this, it'll reduce the amount of stress on the knee as we go through this as well. You can skip down through both of them. Yeah, that was also normal. Okay. All good?
Right. All good.
All good. Next one we're looking at is...
This is like
adequate hip
way
extension.
more level of detail than I thought we were going to go to. I thought we were going to look at like 4 things. This is incredible.
Next one is your hip, knee, and ankle. Are they all aligned at the end of the stance phase? And you can see here, you have hip, knee, and ankle pretty much in a straight line at the very end of the stance phase.
Yeah.
If we really do this line, it might be about here. Something
Right.
that as you're running, you're not fully accessing your glutes.
Right.
Not fully accessing your glutes. And then we also know in the muscle testing, the glutes were a little funky. They had a
Yeah.
hard time firing, right? Lots of single leg glute bridges for you. Lots of single leg. Just find that out. It's not that your hips are limiting
Right.
your access to your glutes. I just don't really know how to squeeze the cheeks.
Right.
Yeah, awesome. Lumbar spine hinging, no, he is good. We talked about that. That's an extension of lordosis, which is a pelvic tilt. You do not have lordosis. Forward lean. So how optimal is your lean? Basically, I'm going to tell people, as we're running, we want to lean about 2, 3, maybe 5 degrees forward, whatever's best for you. The farther forward you lean, the faster you will run.
Sure.
But there'll come a point when you're having to hold yourself up.
Right.
At that point, you're leaning a little too far. Basically, if you had a cup on your head that was half full, as you lean forward, you don't want it to spill, but you do want it to
you kind of want the water to be tilting to the front.
Forward, exactly. But you don't want it to spill.
Yeah.
As we can see here, as you're running, you're essentially pretty vertical, but also there's a slight lean from here to here. Basically, the hip to the ear is how we calculate the torso lean. Pretty good there. Pretty efficient and economical. That's solid there. If we do the advanced assessments, we also actually calculate the degree.
Right, and you see how much.
And it takes a lot more time in the back end. But
and that will change with speed.
That will change with speed.
So if I'm running an 8-minute mile versus 7-minute mile versus 6-minute mile, you should see my lean changing a little bit.
It should increase to help with economy as well a little bit. Yeah. Cool. Next one is arm carry. So arm carry, are your arms tense? Are you running tense?
Yeah.
Here, are you running loose and relaxed? And you can see that you're running relatively relaxed, but I can see your traps up just a little bit.
Yep.
Here, do you notice during long runs that your traps get a little tired or fatigued?
And I just noticed that through the day. They just start creeping up.
Easy way to fix that, if you take your big finger, thumb, and pinky finger, put them together as you're running, that will automatically help you reduce the activation there.
Yeah, trying to create a little something here.
You don't have to run like that the whole time. Basically, every 5-10 minutes or so, just, am I relaxed? No. Lock in.
Relax.
Do it for 30 seconds, and then move on with your life. Yeah,
cool.
Keep on cruising. Perfect. Treadmill speed was your 7:30 pace?
7 minutes.
7 minutes.
6:58.
6:58 is the exact right. I just do that pace. Pace would be perfect. Next one is stride length.
Cool.
So we talked about stride length a little bit, right? Stride length is a little increase because we're heel striking. We're a bit overstriding.
Yeah.
And that overstride is not very efficient in your case. We want to increase our stride frequency, which will automatically decrease our stride length at the same speed.
Totally.
So for you, we want the frequency to come up just a little bit, so that way that stride can shorten and we have that optimal shin angle during the stance phase or when your foot makes contact with the ground. Next one is vertical displacement, so oscillation.
Yep, how much I'm bouncing up and down.
How much are you bouncing? We can usually check that out with here. That's definitely not excessive. Basically what we're looking at, are you a bouncer? Are you jumping up and down each step?
Is that someone who's pushing off too much off the back foot?
Pushing off too much, yes, exactly. And their force is going straight down, not necessarily straight back or forward, right? Another thing here that we see is...
It's like if you see someone like maybe whose lean wasn't as great, would you see associated with lean? Someone who's like
relatively, it could be associated with lean. The more that you lean, you might be propelling yourself more forward rather than up and down. A lot of people that oscillate up and down a lot are people that are really strong and they're sprinters.
Right.
Sprinters have a lot of oscillation. As your momentum goes forward, the higher that you jump, the farther each step will be.
Right.
Speed is equal to stride frequency times stride length.
Right.
Bigger step, more frequency, faster runner.
Right.
Okay. And the last one is a recommended running style. So we talk about chi running, there's pose running, there's other types of running, right? With you and your running style, I think you're doing great. We just have some correctives, some glute activation to get going. Other than that, loosen up the hip flexors a little bit and side planks in the core. And we'll be rocking.
We'll be rocking.
And then that concludes the analysis as well.
Dude, thank you.
You're welcome.
That concludes this part of the video. Thanks so much, man.
Awesome.
That's great.
No problem. If you like the video, go ahead and hit the like link below.
Yeah, thank you so much, Trevor, for taking us through that. That was enlightening and eye-opening, to say the least. We really opened the kimono. Hopefully you guys learned some things too. Make sure you check these guys out online. We'll leave details below in the video description. If you're in the Bay Area, give them a call and book a session for yourself. You can get Trevor. I'm still shushing. I'm still a little breathless from this whole thing. Of course, drop any comments or questions down below too. Myself or Trevor will get to you. Subscribe to our channel. We get new videos come out each and every week. I want you to see them. And we're going to keep filming. We're not done. So we'll see you guys in the next video.